Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, reviewing anything and everything. And today we are getting into a more relaxed video. So what you see in front of you is the Lego Ghost set. I'm gonna put the reference in the description and in the title, because I don't know off the top of my head the number of the set. But essentially this is a mod video for this set, something that I was recently had an idea for, and on a previous video just a little bit before this one, you would have saw that I ordered a couple of parts from lego.com, and some of them were for different projects or different modding that I plan on doing. One was for the Millennium Falcon, which I'm going to get into a bit later in a different video, and one was for the Ghost here. So one of the things I was working on was, let me angle this a little different so you can see it better, a little bit of cargo setups. Now, I was kind of playing around with two different designs. Now, if you may not recall from that video, so I'll just kind of sum it up really quick. Essentially, and it'll be easier for me to show it now that I actually have the set in front of me to but first I'm going to take these things off, because one thing I had when I was first looking underneath this ship to have these ideas, maybe about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I put the ship upside down, and sure enough, those top portions fell right off and they smashed, and I realized never to do that again. So, wait a minute. I've got, where are these guns? They're somewhere in there, but I don't see them right now. They're pistols. I don't know where I put them. They'll show themselves eventually. I think I just dumped them somewhere in there. Okay, I actually put them in the front section here, so those are fine. Normally I store them in two spots up here where I kind of sit them in these little hole areas. I gotta find a better spot where I could put the guns, find a better holding area here. But anyway, so under here, so obviously, you know, I'm going to do a quick rundown on this Lego set. Is very nice. I added these two guns here, so don't mind. Those are not officially part of the ship. But normally on the Ghost, the actual version, underneath this cannon piece wouldn't be this long. This would just be right under here. And if someone wanted to build it like that to not be movable, they could. But essentially, underneath that would be like maybe around here would be a big cargo spot, almost like this, and then it would be able to open up, and then it leads into the interior of the ship. That's how it is in canon. Now, this setup wasn't able to do that for certain maybe build constraints and space and whatever, so they just, you know, did this kind of play feature with the gun, and that was it. But then I noticed all the time you have this big area here that just is perfect for you to be able to put something. And I had the idea that if you put this same shape of a cargo bay, that it would look nice and be able to sit up in there. So this is one of the designs I came up with. I'm gonna see how well that it sits on there. Now it's kind of hard to press inwards. I didn't know it'd be so hard to press, because this top piece on top, for those who are familiar with this build, it's not very, you know, sturdy. This piece right here. Let me angle this whole thing actually so you guys can see it better as I'm trying to fiddle with it, because the camera angle works good for when it's laying down, but when I have it in my hands, you guys can't really see it. So I'm trying to see if I can get this here. Now, what I did also was I purchased flat 2x2 square to use as a connecting jumper plate. What I'm realizing is just even me trying to push up at this whole piece right here is not sturdy enough to even press into this like that. So it's not working like I would want it to in that regard. But what I could do is pull this panel off. Just the idea of doing this alone means that this is going to be something that's not worth doing on a regular basis. Maybe if you never move it from that spot ever again after the fact. You got to be careful with taking these things off. And then now I can put pressure from above to clamp it down. There we go. Because this right here doesn't sit well. But this is also why I used the piece that I did here, and I'll see if I have one of those laying around. And this bag of pieces here, I'll put that on the side over there, don't mind that. This is what's on the top of that. They didn't have white, so I made a mock-up cargo of where I did it like this just to kind of see how it would look. But I know this is definitely going to be a problem with taking on and off. This has less studs, so it locks onto there, but not as sturdy, so it'd be easier to take off. And definitely seeing how flimsy these kind of wings, for lack of a better word, are on the ship, being able to take it off easier will be a big deal. Now, being that I realize that now, I'm gonna switch this one up. And don't mind, you guys, it's gonna be a bit of a lengthy video, so don't mind if you're into that. Now what I'm doing now is I'm switching this one up here, but the problem, let me just angle this down a little bit, is when I pull when I move the front doorway up and down, it tends to, those hinges come detached, and that's something I don't like. This was just a thought that all came into my head, and when I ordered the pieces, I wasn't sure what was gonna work, what wasn't, what was gonna fit, so I ordered a couple different things. I actually got different hinges also, but the other hinges I bought really don't work for it. Now, if you looked at that previous video, I used these hinges, but they don't work that very well on it. I think they're less stable than these ones, so just gonna use these ones. And even though I wish the whole thing was white, but these are the only pieces that they had, because I had mentioned in the previous video when I ordered these that the way they did it was best sellers. If people are familiar with that on Amazon, I'm sorry, Lego, if you order from their best sellers list, they ship them quick. And if you order from the standard list of parts, which are non-best sellers, meaning they don't ship as easy, or they're more less bought pieces, so they don't ship them out as fast. They weren't selling those for the holiday season, any of them. So this was what it was. Now, like I was saying, one of the issues is that when I pull this down, it sometimes falls off like that, and that's a problem, because if this is attached to the set like it is here, this one, that's going to be annoying if you ever have to pull this down. So I would have to figure out a way to make this lock in better or be more sturdy. I don't know how I would do that, because when this is like it's in flush, when it's like this and it's flush, there's no room to put something up around here to kind of support, like to you know, give it extra what's the word I'm looking for, structural support. So I'm not really too sure. Now here I'm able to grab it from both ends and do that, but that may not work when it's underneath there. So anyway, and then the point also with this was, so these are cargo bays to kind of take the place of the one that you wouldn't have built into the Ghost in Canon, to give it a little bit more of that look. But in addition to, in between that area, I can't even really demonstrate it much because the actual piece isn't there underneath. But normally, for those who are familiar with it, and you can look it up, just type in like Ghost storage or whatever, where it had that that entrance ramp, which goes to the cargo bay right underneath the cannon here in the cockpit area. In between that, like this back area here, would be a port where you'd have boxes are able to be stored. So this kind of mimics that kind of setup a little bit. In addition, I gotta pull this down gently. I made this to where you can take crates and you slide them in. You can actually fit two of them side by side, which obviously if you got to store something in those crates, and then you can close it up. Or if you have something big that you have to store, you wouldn't even put it in the crates. You would just put it straight inside there, without crates, and then you can close it up also. Now, obviously you guys can see what this is made of, so it's not complicated. I'm not gonna have to take it apart for you to see how I built it. You know, obviously I just kind of built it in front of you by switching from the other setup I had where it was all white. So obviously you would order that type of part. And these are just 1x4 bricks, and you just, you know, form it like that. And this specific size is because you can't really go too much smaller than it, because the real measure would have been, this is a 4x6. The real measurement would have been a 4x5, but they don't have that type of piece. Not that I was able to find on the website. So for that reason, this was the next best thing. And on top of that too, if it was 5 wide, though that would fit directly underneath here without this extra piece hanging off, you wouldn't be able to fit 2 crates in there. So though it would probably look a little better flush, you wouldn't be able to fit 2 crates. So that would be a thing there with that. Now, obviously, the reason why I did this was just to dress it up where, you know, for you to get inside there. And I made them identical. I didn't want to just be a simple panel. You could just have a simple panel, but I dressed it up by also having the red and the blue and the green. So that way you could imagine in universe, when you punch in your combination and you get it right, the green light lights up to let you know it's unlocked. If you in standard mode, the red one would be lit up and it's like saying it's in locked mode. So that was kind of to do that, just kind of, you know, jazzy up the control panel rather than just have a flat empty box. So I'm gonna try to connect this one on here and then see how that looks. I didn't realize how flimsy these little wing parts were. I mean, I've always known that. I mean, you can hold the ship from there, but just when you're pressing upwards against it, it definitely tests the structural rigidity of this. This is one of my favorite ships, and it's actually my first Star Wars Lego spaceship I ever purchased, but I'm definitely, I'm a fan of the design, but these side areas here are just like dressing pretty much. So by doing that, and like I said, with those tops that are not fully tiled off, it shouldn't be hard to remove them as much without causing damage, relatively speaking. So what I'm gonna do now is put this back on, and so let's see how this looks all together. And I used to tell people here, I did this on purpose with one of the extra pieces. They're supposed to both be white. I put the gray one there, dark gray one, because I wanted to have that feel of, like, you know, similar that you would have probably on the Millennium Falcon, where pieces of it were damaged or junk and you needed a spare, and, you know, similar to like someone who has a junk car where they put a mismatched panel color on it. They just did that to fill in the space. I wanted to have a little bit of character like that. Along with these were extra pieces from the set as well. Everything that you see on here, other than these cannons, these stud shooters, were extra pieces from the set. I like to take that and just add extra greeveling. So here you have little pieces, little pipes where smoke probably comes out and things of that sort. So anyway, let's throw this on just to give it that completed look. Now let's see how this looks. Does it look decent to be what it is? Let me adjust the camera angle. Move some of these extras out of the background for a second, and you guys tell me, what do you think? Now, I do think that if it was a 5, the length of the 5x4, it would be better, but like I said, they didn't have that available, nor would you be able to hold as much in it. But you guys can let me know, how do you think that looks as cargo things? Now, the idea behind this also, but I see now, because of these wings, we're gonna call them wings, these panels, because these wings are so fragile, you can't just pull these on and off super easy. But the idea was supposed to be, and maybe I actually can do that, because I actually purchased these for that very reason. Because when I first thought if I was gonna have to use these as the top, I was gonna do this and just put this down, 2 of these, and then let that be how it sticks underneath. And maybe if I do decide like I'm gonna use these anyway, I would just put these as the tops. I would still have to keep the gray bottoms simply because one, it makes it you can slide the chest in easier, and then two, I don't have enough of these for that, because then I would need 6 of these, one on top, one on the bottom of each one, and then one as the front cover piece. I don't have enough for that. But if I do put these on the top and I put these little jumper plates for that, these only having 2 studs should be able to remove even easier, but you get the point. So, but the idea is that you could take these off easy, so that way if you're flying and you're making them do a drop, they can just drop these down, leave them for when they got to upload or unload or upload cargo. If they don't want to just do it straight from the piece. But if you want to do it straight from the piece, then the idea would have been, and I know this is gonna, come off because it. You know what? I just realized now, because I didn't know for this or prepare for it before. This can't even open on here while it's attached. So you don't have that ability because it runs right into this. You would have to pull this out even further. At that point, it makes it look really ugly if this is hanging out from the side. So now I know that, just in practice, that you can't do that. So essentially, then that means that it would be even more imperative that this is able to disconnect very easy. So that means we're gonna have to try with that. Let's see if I can get this off without causing a big problem. Oh, God. It's stuck in there so hard, and that was what I was worried about, because this, like I said, is a very fragile frame, and you really don't want to be doing that too much, because what's going to happen is you're going to damage the internals. If you see here, this is now not fully aligned, and you don't want to be doing that too much, because what will happen is then you'll mess up what's going on inside this wing area, and you don't want to find out later on that it's kind of falling to pieces when you didn't want it to. So what I'm gonna see is if and of course that part is annoying too. So, maybe this becomes something that's more for look than it is for play, which I don't want to be the case, but unfortunately it seems to be almost panning out that way. And we'll see if I take this off. We're going to take those, let's see. The little jumper plates. Put them in the center, like so. Put this on here. And see if that attaches easier than the other one did. And I don't know if it will. Comment down below, you guys, do you like the idea of this? Does it look cool to you? Is it something that you would want to try yourself, or do you think it's not worth it? Just let me know your thoughts. This definitely clamps in there so much easier, and it's so much lighter. So if I'm gonna go this route, I'll do that, because I didn't have to put a lot of pressure, because it's just the 2 studs and they go in with hardly any force at all. Now it does have a little bit of gap in between, as you can see, but that's fine, because it's not really meant to be, they're meant to be removed easy. So I don't have to have them super tight in there. So that's fine. So I think what I'll do is I'll do the same with the other one. And like I said, I bought multiple parts to see, because I wasn't sure what was going to work or not. But it was worth it. It doesn't cost that much to buy the extra parts. I mean, you do have to make the $35 threshold, so that way the shipping is free. So you have to have at least a large enough part count to where that is what you're doing. But once you get to that point, having a couple different setups to test out to see what's going to work, it doesn't cost that much different to add one of these extra jumper parts or something like that. Though this aspect here that I was just doing is just so annoying. That part, I'm sorry, you guys didn't see on camera, but that folding this thing down is just very annoying, that part of it. So I'll do this. I'm putting these jumpers on it right now. I'm putting this on top. So essentially it's still gonna look the same, but at least, and now if only when you hold it like that, can you really, because you're essentially grabbing the hinges. But now at least I realize, since you can't fold this down while it's attached, you're gonna take it down anyway, and then you can have the luxury of grabbing it by both ends, I'm sorry, grabbing it from the bottom too, and then you can fold it out. So then in that case, it's not too bad when you're holding it like that. And like I said, if you need to, you can put these things in it as well. Another option that you guys have too is that whole space down there. And I actually ordered a couple of tops that were like this for this very purpose, other jumper ones, but to go in here. You could take them, and if you didn't want to have these cargo build-ups, these cargo cases that I built up, let me switch the camera angle again, you guys. Oh, and that came right off. Which is fine, because like I said, I didn't want it to be all that tight on there anyway, especially now if I'm gonna be taking this on and off. But if you had the little jumper plates on here, you could just load a few of these things right underneath here, stack them up, 1, 2, you'd be able to hold 2 next to each other. You can't hold a third because they take up 6 wide and this is 5 wide, but you could hold 2 like that and maybe another one in front like that. And you could just have this whole thing with crates just like that. It's not the same as the cargo bays, you know, coming down, similar to the way that the in-cannon ship looks for this ship. You guys know what I'm talking about, for those who know what the ship actually looks like with the cargo area down here. But so it's not going to give that same effect that these kind of do a little bit, but nonetheless you will have this as a cargo area, because that's essentially how the ship worked. It had like a magnet thing underneath that would hold the cargo underneath. Now, another option a person could do, but I don't think this would look as good, is you could put this sideways. I don't think it, well, I can't do it with these jumper plates like that. I'd have to move them a little bit, but nonetheless, like if you had it like that, it's not bad, and it could still open up on the side. So I don't know if that's a look that someone would think is good. I like the idea of it looking forward like that kind of, but let's see how that will look if we test it out. Let's play around with that. Okay, using the detached piece to get these jumper plates off, and what we're gonna do is put them more to the back end like this, and let's see if it even is able to stick. Let's see how that works. Okay, there we go. I didn't have to press it hard. It looks almost a little more flush because it's not going as wide outwards. I think it doesn't look as cool as those things facing forward, but the beauty is that you can now open it from the side. So what I'm going to do now is put the other one on. Let me just pop these off. Well, now I know that this kind of can't work as the top at all, because I just don't like how hard it holds on to the bottom. So that's not going to be an option in my mind. But if you guys want to do it like that and make it a permanent attachment, you can do that. Like I said, once again, comment down below if you like the idea of this, or you think it's a nice little mod. I think it seems kind of cool. Like I said, it's just a cargo attachment, so it's not like you have to leave it on there all the time. It clamps in very easy when I do it like that. So see, so that's not too bad. It doesn't affect this, obviously. This is the side. Now the landing gear is lower than it, so it doesn't affect when it lands. Those things actually don't even touch the ground. And that could be a positive or a negative. The positive, I think it makes sense for it not to touch the ground. The negative is that by not touching the ground, it doesn't support its own weight like that. So I'm gonna try to open this up. And of course I can't, but at least I know. Let me see. It's too hard to do it like that. But the thing about it is you could always open it up and then reattach it because it attaches so easy. But this is what that would look like. So let me bring the camera angle down. And I know this is gonna look really cool to a lot of people. Hera is loading up cargo into the ship. And yeah, so that is kind of cool, you know. Yeah, that's kind of cool. You know, I'm just gonna take a moment just looking at that. It's kind of cool, you know. You got that loading up the cargo. Like I said, it's fragile in terms of it coming down, but that's a good thing to a degree because at least you know it's not affecting the structure. Like if there's ever a time where that gets hit or like whatever, it will break away off of the ship before it will ever compromise the integrity of the ship. So that's cool. And then obviously, like I said, it's easier just to maybe take it apart. I don't know. I'll try to lift this up. I know it's not gonna work because I can't get a good angle. So of course it comes right off, which is fine. I'll lift that up, press it in. And you know, sometimes you may have to take it off just to do the action and then clamp it back on. But like I said, I don't even have to put a lot of pressure for it to stick. It's just a little bit on there. It's not even tight. It's not even tight. I'll even show you. There's a huge gap of space. You see how it's not even really on there that well, that like that plates are not even fully whatever, but it's enough that it sticks and you don't have to worry about it messing things up or causing any issue. Say if you're swooshing it around and that drops, that's not like a big thing to repair. First off, it probably is going to stay mostly intact with just the door coming off. Secondly, it's not that big of a deal. So I thought that having it facing forward seemed cool because it did look cool, but I think that the way to go is to put it sideways. That would be the way it works best. And I think I'm cool with that. Excuse me, sorry about that. With this look like that, I think that's kind of cool. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. Obviously, you guys seen how to put this together. It's not that hard. They come off pretty easy. If I pull it from the back end, like if I tip it down first from that end for where it's attached first, it comes out even easier. Drop it down, the cargo, ship takes off. This will be part of your Ghost now. You have a situation where they got to come and pick up cargo. You have a cargo area. It makes sense because this is a freighter line ship, just like many of the other ones, like the Millennium Falcon and all the other stuff. And that is the purpose. That is the very purpose of this ship, is to cargo things. So now it's not just a ship for the purpose that it looks cool, it's fun to have in canon, adventures and this and that, which is what it becomes. But its primary purpose, just like the Millennium Falcon and many other ships, is it is a cargo ship. And now you have cargo storage. I think that's really cool. So like I said, comment down below if you think this mod is cool. I really like it. And I'm gonna keep it on my Ghost ship. As always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.